Are Zillow home estimates total garbage, or can we actually use them to evaluate properties in our market to know what they should go for? In this video, I'm going to show you how we can evaluate Zestimates based on our market. We'll be able to pinpoint how accurate Zestimate is, whether we're in a certain city, state, or county, and if we're looking at on-market or off-market deals. My name is Ariel Herrera with the AnalyticsAriel channel, where we bridge the gap between real estate and technology. I really think it's imperative to use data-driven analyses when it comes to real estate. And if you feel the same, then please subscribe to this channel as well as like this content if you want to see more of it. All right, let's get started. So here I created a basic dashboard just to look at Zestimate coverage throughout the states. However, let's just take a step back to actually review what is Zestimate. So if you're ever searching for a property on Zillow, whether it's a property that you look to invest in or a property just to own, you'll see that there's usually a value associated with that house. And the Zestimate is a home valuation model to estimate a home's market value. A Zestimate incorporates public MLS and user-submitted data into Zillow's proprietary formula, also taking into account home facts, location, and market trends. I have personally used Zillow's Zestimate in the past when trying to gauge how much should a property go for. If I'm going to refinance my property, what is the current market value? Now, sometimes this could be a little bit inaccurate depending on where you are. So if you look here, Zillow actually provides an accuracy mapping for top metropolitan areas, and they gauge how close they are to the sales price. So for example, say if 123 Main Street is on sale in Atlanta, once that property actually gets sold, Zillow will pull the last Zestimate that it recorded and see how far away it was from the actual sales price. For example, if Zillow estimated that the property was worth $95,000 and it sold for $100,000, then it would fall within the 5% bandwidth of the sales price. So what this tells us here is for a metropolitan area like Atlanta, when we're looking at active listings, the median error is about 1.7%. And that's looking at 32.4K homes. We could see that almost 87% of properties that are active listings are within 5% of the sales price, which is really good. And if we go down all the way to 20%, we're at 99.2. This makes sense that we would expect Zestimate to be pretty accurate when it comes to active listings because there's more property information for active listings. When an agent puts a property for sale, they're entering a lot of detail if it's not already in their MLS system. This includes number of bedrooms, baths, types of roof, types of heating or cooling, and more. In some cases, when we look at off-market property deals, these could be properties that have not been sold in over 20, 30, 40 years. So the data that Zillow may have that may be pulled from county information or the MLS may be outdated and inaccurate. So as we see when we go over to off-market and we look at that same metropolitan Atlanta, that the median error is 6.2, with about 1.9 million homes. As we know, most homes are off-market and are not being sold. Then we look at how often is Zillow right about it being 5% of the sales price, and it's 42%, so it's not that great. But they are within a good bandwidth when we're looking at 20% of the sales price. So right here, if we were looking at off-market deals in Atlanta, I would highly suggest not to use Zestimate as your only source of evaluating a property's estimate. You should be using several different models and then maybe do the median across each of them. But we could go even further. So Zillow also provides an Excel spreadsheet to look at this data where they go beyond just metropolitan. In this data, we have 4 different tabs. We have country, state, MSA, and county. So let's zoom in a little bit here, and let's imagine that we're looking at areas within Florida. So I'm going to pull up Florida, and let's look at off-market deals. Let's sort by the highest percentage. From this, we could see that the county that has the most accurate Zestimate is Osceola County in Florida for off-market deals. No idea where this is. Let's look at it in a map. This comprises the central part of Florida, right under Orlando. Or as I like to call it, somewhat of a ghost town, as I've driven through this once before to get to the West Coast, and it was pretty scary. But going back to here, you could also filter on median error and look at your county to see, is Zestimate usually accurate or not? As well, you can go back to MSA, and if you have a specific city, you can also choose here. So what I did was I quickly took the information from the Excel file for state, and I wanted to see across states, where does the error reside? So in this first part, we're looking at the number of homes. So we have here that Zillow was able to provide Zestimates for 9.9 million homes in California, which is the most, and less so for some other states. Now, if we look at the bottom chart, we could see the median error. When we look at on-market properties, the worst is New York, the median error of 2.6, which still isn't that bad. But now let's look at off-market properties. For New York State, the median error here is 11%, which is pretty high. You may be thinking, okay, great. Well, if I want to rely on Zillow and I haven't chosen a market yet, maybe I should go for those lighter states. Well, actually, that's data that's missing from their spreadsheet, which is kind of a bummer. I'm not really sure why these are missing, but at least we do have some type of data coverage to understand where their gaps may lie in some other states. As a recap, Zillow's Zestimate is not perfect. They do need to rely on information being accurate from an owner or from the MLS. And also, sometimes they don't have information like, is it a corner house? Is it next to a large factory? Is it right behind a major highway with a lot of noise and pollution? These are things that do come into play when people are selling a property and what buyers are willing to pay for. So I highly suggest that you should still use Zestimate if the median error isn't too high within your market, but be mindful to take this into account with other estimates. I have a lot of videos on pulling data from APIs and getting rent as well as property estimates, so feel free to check that out when you're doing your analysis. And please leave comments below on what your favorite automation value model is in real estate. Thanks so much, and please subscribe.